right. Hey everyone, how's everyone's month going? How were your holidays?
They were
busy.
different, but very good.
Yeah, actually the holidays were really, really good for our social media. We got like 4 times the engagement we normally get. I mean, it normally do pretty solid, but like we just blew it out of the water this time. What I noticed was that people really liked pictures. Like I went to Oakwood and I just took pictures of like the lights, and I did posts of like the different homes with the lights on them, and those just did exceedingly well, to the point that people were actually asking to buy copies of the photos. And we don't have anything set up to do that, but it did occur to me that something that we could talk about, and I put it on the agenda just as a discussion point, or not the agenda, metrics sheet, that maybe like next year we could think about like having a calendar of like historic buildings and we go take pictures. I don't know if we could do that or not. I have no idea what we're allowed to do as far as, permits or things like that, but if we had a photographer who could take photos and anyway, that's on the list. So yeah, the first thing is just to talk about our metrics, and we basically just did really well this month. If you saw the insights, the historic photos did the best with a reach of 25,000, 133 shares, and 144 comments. So that was just very popular. People really liked that. And then I did one on Raleigh Christmas Past, that was also very popular, reached about 20,000, with 121 comments and 22 shares. So kind of just like Christmas history. And then a then and now comparison of Christmas on Fayetteville Street was our third most popular post with 500. So yeah, it did really great this month. So that's that's my overview for how things went in December. For January, I did want to talk about what we wanted our December. The theme was just sort of Raleigh Christmas and Christmassy, Christmas building.
You're breaking up.
Am I? Like how bad?
I only heard about a third of what you just said.
It's getting better. It sounds like there's a vacuum or some sort of static in the background.
Oh, that's probably me. I'll mute again.
I was gonna say it's silent here. It could be because I'm on my phone.
I think it's Colette's brain.
It could be.
He just said your brain's a vacuum, Colette.
No, I did not.
I heard.
I heard.
I was not excited about it.
I think these metrics are exciting, and I'm real excited that they're going up, and I think that's a real way to share what we do.
I do too. I mean, I think the more people know that we're out there and they begin to see all of that, the better we are. Really good.
Who does our Instagram now?
No one. Need help with that.
Well, I'll be glad to help with that. I understand what the parameters would be, but let me find out whether I've been reappointed to a board I'm currently on that's taking most of my life out of me. But I think I'm going to be off that board and just on a subcommittee. But I'll be glad to try to help with that. And I assume it would be the normal parameters of posting whatever with restraint. I assume that it might be okay to capture images you're already putting on Facebook and kind of bury them into Instagram because they're already there and they're already good and they can feed into each other.
Yeah, that's right now. That's all we really need is just someone who can take the photos from Facebook and put them on Instagram. You don't really have to do much unless you want to do more.
And I recently had the occasion to do some posting for Friends of Overland Village or something. And I found out that there's a process that's actually not hard to use where you can post and manipulate images on Instagram on your computer too, which is useful.
Yes, that would be useful. Yeah, the biggest thing in my end is I run multiple Instagram pages and you have to switch between them anytime you post. So putting something on Facebook, I can just throw it up there so fast. I run multiple Facebook pages too, but I don't have to like big switch. It takes a lot of time to switch.
I should be able to start helping out and have more availability starting next week. That's when his daycare starts. So I'll finally be getting back to normal life at some point next week.
Hi. Oh, I didn't see him. They're cute. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we just need someone who can just grab what's on Facebook and put it on Instagram. Or they can do more if they want to, but bare minimum, it's just, I just don't have the time to do both.
I think it probably makes sense that whatever we do, we disseminate that same sort of copy to whatever other platforms we're on. Because if we're going to generate work on one platform, we might as well use it on another, and vice versa. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree. We just need someone who has time to pick that up.
What's that program? I'll find out, but there's a program that you can populate with your information that you post once and it goes to all the social media sites you control.
There's a few programs like that. Hootsuite.
That's it.
Buffer. Okay, Hootsuite.
Hootsuite. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, we could do Hootsuite. There's some weaknesses to that. In that posting to different platforms work differently. So like Instagram, you want to use hashtags. On Facebook, you don't want to use hashtags. So I don't typically use that, but you're right, for the purposes of just getting something out quickly, it would be better than nothing. Can you guys hear me? Am I breaking up? Okay. Paranoid. But yeah, and anybody who could help with that. Like, I'm happy to still be the one that like writes the content and gets the photos and puts everything together. I just don't have time to also get it on Instagram. It's just so. If anybody wants to help with that, it sounds like Gaston and Travis, you're both interested in maybe helping with that. Do you guys have access to our Instagram? Do you know how to log in?
No, and if there's, do you have like a Google Doc or anything where you've got the posts planned, or would you just want us to do something like follow the Facebook page, set up like an alert on our Facebook account as soon as it pops up, copy paste it into Instagram?
Whatever's easiest. Typically I would just say, if you see something pop up on Facebook, like once a week or twice a week, check, grab whatever it is and throw it on Instagram. But if, and since everything's there, adding it to another location, just going to be checking that anyway. Just add an extra step. But if it's easier for you to just have it in a document, I can like link to this. Maybe I could like have a document where I link to my post.
It would just depend on what you'd want to do. If it was something like you want it to be immediately available, and okay, then yeah, I can just look at what you got on Facebook. The only thing that would trip me up is if it's a video file. Pictures are easy.
Yeah, it'll be video live streaming, and that doesn't need to go on Instagram.
I would add that it might be, I can see where if it's just Travis copying over whatever Heather generates on Facebook, that it maybe just the two of you coordinate however you see fit. But part of the agenda discussion today is how to loop in the research committee. And it might be easier overall, once more fingers get in the pot, to have something like a Google Doc where we can collaborate and see what the planned posts are for, the current month and the upcoming month. somewhere you can copy in or link in whatever rhdc.org or National Register nomination language that we have that would be associated with that. And then, you could potentially assign somebody to each of the posts for verification, somebody from community awareness and research, make sure they touch base with each other. Part of our discussion is how to create that framework. And I hadn't even thought of a Google Doc until you suggested it just now, Travis, but maybe something like that would be helpful.
I think Travis is the only person here who was around when it was implemented, but we did create the Trello board.
Yeah, because we used that a long time ago as part of my day job. It works well if you've got more than 2 people needing to post things. If you can create like a template card and you have multiple columns, one's Facebook published, one's Instagram published, however you'd want to have it published, and there's a check mark box on the template card. So the check mark could be like staff approval, and it would log the name or the username and the date and time you approved it. And then we can just drop it into the column, like, is it published on Facebook? Check. Is it published on Instagram? Check. There's a little bit of an overhead burden getting it set up, because then every post you do, you got to create a card first and then have everyone go into Trello and do their thing with it and keep it updated. But it does work better than when you've got just 2 people doing it.
Yeah. The concern with that is just that it's already, it takes time, that we're already having trouble even getting an Instagram post up, and even Facebook, I manage it, but it's alone. Nobody is involved with it but me. I'm concerned that I think a Google Doc is quick and easy, and literally everyone can just access it without any like passwords or anything extra adding to their computer. I want to make it as easy as possible so that it doesn't take time away from actually making the content, or we're going to end up with less posts, lower engagement, lower numbers all across the board. So I think something simple like a Google Doc. I will say though, my posts pretty much, they come from Raleigh Historic or RHDC website. So it's already, I pretty much just pull from stuff we've already created anyways. So I'm curious. If research committee wants to be involved, I think that's awesome. Especially if they have some ideas. Like Ian is such a wealth of information. And for example, I did that post the other day with stuff literally from the RHDC website, word for word, and it was wrong. And I had to ask Ian, why are people fighting this? Why are they saying it's not true? I'm not familiar with history. This is the actual website.
And that's where we want to get research committee involved, is not deciding what posts that you do, especially if you're pulling from information that we've already published, but if there are questions, because what is up there has already been vetted, and so and we'll be talking about this tomorrow morning with research committee as well, and we just have to I think, and I have to look at it a little bit more carefully, and I've not yet, but I think that the information that was being questioned, I think it was Oakwood.
It was
anyway, was taken directly from the National Register nomination. And so we just have to make sure that all of our information is consistent and then make, tweaks accordingly. So what my suggestion is, and we'll talk tomorrow with how research committee wants to handle it, is that that's where their involvement is. It's your job is to, let's get it out there. Their job is to research and then help answer questions and help with accuracy. And just because you mentioned Raleigh Historic, we will have new blurbs up for the 4 new landmarks 2 that were designated in 2019 and the 2 that were just designated within the month. I don't know. I just got the information, so I will let you know as soon as those are up. And those will be really easy for new landmarks.
Yes, that's really awesome. Yeah, for the most part, I try to just use stuff that we already have. Plus, I can link it to the website, hopefully drive web traffic. The only times I don't do that is if I'm sharing something like, sometimes I'll pull from like Ian's page, Old Raleigh, right? In which case, I'll be more like, I'll pull from what Ian said on Old Raleigh, right? Or I might pull like an article that I've written, in which case it's something I've researched heavily for that article, which is, already been researched by me.
I still think that if it's not being pulled directly from information RHDC has already published, it needs to go through research.
Okay, even if it's Ian's information, who's going to?
Well, if you're quoting something.
Yes, like
Raleigh, that's more like a retweet I see, but I think it needs to make sure it's coming as, look at this information from so-and-so, as opposed to something that, so yes, even if it's Ian's, we just want to make sure that RHDC as an entity is not putting forth as factual something that has not been vetted by the commission, regardless of who did it.
That makes sense. Okay. So we can do that. So if it's quoted from the website or from Raleigh Historic, it's fine to pull those things. But if it's going to be something different, then we'll push it through research committee and let them take a look. And then they're kind of.
And if it's a picture without content, it doesn't matter. Where
precisely, as long as you attribute where the photo came from, right? And we'll talk tomorrow with research about how they want that to happen. Mm-hmm. My recommendation is going to be simply, just an email from you to whoever wants to be on the committee that wants to be part of that email. I am going to ask, we've got an archaeologist, non-commissioner volunteer. I'm going to ask that he be included as well, just because it's a different subset. But just to keep it very sort of loose and easy.
Yeah, loose and easy sounds good. I think if we try to create like a system that almost might, it's social media. It needs to be kind of, flowy.
And with that said, and I think Aaron mentioned it last month, that the city's social media policy. Right now, staff is taking we've been hands off anyway, but now we're like drawing this wall. We'll talk to you about it, but all social media needs to be all you. Otherwise, we have to drop everything and go through, the formal. So I'm considering what y'all are doing as being your nonprofit work.
Okay.
So,
well, on that note, I was thinking for January, because I know that we had talked about this before and that Carolyn, you were going to do some research on it, and it didn't end up happening, but we still had the thought of the Freedmen's Villages, because obviously we know Method and Oberlin, but there were 13, and there's always kind of been this question of like, what happened to the other 11? And then Gaston sent me some great research on the other 11, and I've actually been talking to several people in the community who have done a lot of research into the other Freedmen's Villages and what they were called and where they were located. So I think that could be really fascinating, and then that'd be a perfect thing for research committee to help with.
Right. So the report that Gaston sent you was actually funded by RHDC and is available and is listed on the website as, I don't know if the document is on there, a link to the document or not. I can't remember. Anyway, so of course that was done back in the 80s, and there's always research is continuing, but that is known information. And just as it's not going to be looking at the Freedman time period, but it's entirely possible that the sort of next step research committee is going to be doing is doing the next step architectural survey on African American historic resources, beyond what was done in the late 80s. So,
and I think it'd be great to do more. I got heavily into the document that I had to read about them, and it was completely fascinating how many there were. But what I was looking at kind of did not let you know as much about where they are now. There were a lot of unanswered questions, and they were all so different. It is a very dense set of materials that I think would be great for us to pursue in some way, but it is time consuming. I'm sorry I didn't get any further before I got swept up in some other things, but I think it really is, worth pursuing with what you're mentioning, Tanya, and also, Heather.
So I think you could use a document like that to even say, this report was on blah, blah, blah. This is what we know. Do you know anything? Or we know method is here. So sort of assuming somebody's out there to answer questions, but I think that you can pull excerpts of factoids out of this dense document, and then in maybe one of the things link to, if you want to read the whole thing, here you go.
Right. I agree. I think I didn't even know that the document was from us. So that's even better that we can just pull from it. And there's so many tidbits of information in there. I think we'd have an easy time finding posts. So if everyone's on board with that, I think that would be good for January. Okay. I'm going to take a guess because I don't see everybody's faces. I can only see 4 of you at a time.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll do that. And
I think it's great. I did too.
Good, because we have that document too. And I think that's, that's going to be really helpful. On that note, then, I was also wondering, and this is more towards the bottom, but where did I put it? Okay, yeah. Photos and coverage of the homes on Bloodworth Street. So I know, we've talked about someone, I don't know if it's research or who's doing it, but someone going and documenting what's in those homes, looking if there's any artifacts inside them. We are probably going to be moving them onto city property.
That's a huge leap. Probably not. It is probably not going to happen. It is going to be explored. I do not see it. It is unlikely to happen, honestly.
Really? The offer they made us that had people vote yes, because we'd get to have them. That was for them to look into.
It's not something that just magically happens. The city vacant lots are relatively few and far between in the downtown area, and most of them are already earmarked for other things. So it is a possibility. It's up to y'all to decide what to do. I think that your efforts can be spent better elsewhere.
Okay.
One thing I was going to bring up real quick, and I'm sorry I didn't reach out to y'all about this when it happened. I want to say right about the week of Christmas or the week before, Mary Sell or somebody was talking about the Lustron House on Twitter, and one of the accounts that chimed in was the Raleigh Land Trust, and they were asking me about the Lustron House and about lots that are available to move historic buildings onto. And they did want to reach out to RHDC and see if there was some way that they could work with us to help move some of the more smaller but still historic homes, and also promote the Lustron House to help us sell it.
Yeah, send them to me. It is some, please connect us via email. It's something that I've in the past have worked with Housing and Neighborhoods on, because that's who owns most of the properties within the city, but also with our real estate division as well. So if you could look that information up and connect us, that would be great, Travis.
Cool. Yeah. Well, then I will, on your advice, then I take the covering those homes off. I thought that might be something. I wasn't sure how fascinating they would be or not. But if they were fascinating or if something was happening, I thought covering it on our social might be good. But on your advice, if they are not that interesting, then we will not do that.
I didn't say they're not that interesting, and it's just it's also getting in the middle of a rezoning case is a little wonky. It's a technical term.
Wonky is a good technical term. No, that's fair. I just wasn't sure. Like, I know we do these interesting things, like get things marked as landmarks, and, you know, do cases like that. And I wondered to what extent that should be reflected on our social media. We haven't really done it in the past, and I just was wanting to broach that and see if that was something we should be doing, or if it wasn't.
Definitely promoting our landmarks more, especially when they're designated. You know, highly encourage that. When it comes to rezoning cases, it depends on what RHDC's official involvement is, which other than making a recommendation, and at this point there's not, you know, you're not part of a condition that you're actively involved with at this point. So it may be down the line.
Okay.
But not at this.
Cool. And then the big thing I want to have time to talk about before we, finish up, is the historic foodie scavenger hunt. Now, Tanya, you weren't here last month, so I would love to hear your official thoughts and opinions on this, because I think you're just the most experienced. So I was so sad you weren't here, because I was like, oh, she'd probably know just what to do.
I feel like I'm the naysayer all the time. Let me find that. I had pulled it up and now I've lost it again. So hold on a second.
But being the naysayer is good, because you can let us know if it's not worth pursuing things, whereas I'm definitely a yay sayer to like everything. I'm like, that'll be great. That'll be great. That'll be great. But the theory that we came up with last month, and again, if you have thoughts, we wanted to do a scavenger hunt. And the reason behind it is because normally, if we didn't have COVID, we'd be doing stuff. We'd be at events, having tables, or, we would be doing like the tour we were planning, the bicycle tour.
Colette and Aaron filled me in on all that. So I understand where you're coming from. I like that almost all of them are landmarks. If we can get them all landmarks, that's preferable. I don't think it's necessarily a requirement. I know you had some on there that weren't, but yeah, Lucky Tree is at Royal Baking Company, for sure.
Yeah, and I know them, and my biggest concern with this whole thing, I think it's a really cool idea, and I think that the businesses get them to promote it. That's going to be what really sells it. I don't think we're going to get people to do this just based on social media. I think it's going to be based on getting other people involved and getting people to with their own customers. So a lot of this is about kind of social media engagement and expanding our reach through these local businesses who have an even larger reach in order to get this kind of off the ground. Why bother? So obviously, and I'm aware of that. But that being said, I would like that we could be doing out in the community. So we want to work, I think, with companies.
Hey, Tanya, could you mute while Heather's speaking? I think it might be drowning her out.
Oh, sorry. I thought I had.
That's right.
You can always mute me too.
Oh, I guess I could lay down the law. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the more we can work with companies that are going to be really active and easy to get, like I think the coffee shop, that's like such an easy one. People are already going there. So that's a really good active company. Maybe like Lucette Grace, again, they're very easy. It's an easy in. Same with, I know that Nick had mentioned the food halls. are they in historic buildings? Is that what he's getting at?
They're in old buildings. Transfer is, that building is National Register listed.
Gotcha. Okay. So maybe transfer if they're open. Are they open? Do we know?
I think there are some areas, at least some of the restaurants in there are doing takeout. I think the tricky part with the food hall is that, you look at the overall building and then you've got to either get however many multiple restaurants on board within that, or they've got to know where to go. And that could get tricky trying to get everybody involved. I don't know.
And we could go to the central managing company for it, because there's got to be some sort of landlord managing all of the spaces in there.
That's
I
true.
was just
What?
going to say that, I noticed that we said that 10% or something if people actually go there, but I'm wondering, because some are just doing takeout, all different things like that, and with the, surge and everything like that, could we try to have incentives that would do business with it, but not necessarily go there, so that if somebody is just doing takeout only or curbside or whatever, then the stay and eat part wouldn't be there. Just somehow, patronizing them in some way would be a good thing to add.
I think you could do it with curbside pretty easily.
Curbside, good. And it was just like it's stay and eat was what we had put in there. And I was just thinking, eat or pick up curbside, just make it more than one option.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. I think so. So we'd talk about like having prizes at each location. So each location would need to agree to have whatever giveaways that we have.
So Heather, I've actually given that a lot of thought since last month, and I'm not sure, given that it's, pandemic central, that it would be smart to have things that people need to touch and hand over, or that the restaurants need to kind of police along with whatever their obviously not regular operations are right now. So I think it would be smarter to eliminate the physical part of it, other than, people are going to eat. So I would encourage us to move away from that and back to submitting photos on social media and tagging us and trying to do something at the end.
Okay.
That would be a good thing. That would solve it all.
I take a contrary view. I think there are steps we can take now. Plastic bags, baggies, whatever. I just think it is an essential part of humanness to want to get something for free other than an experience. And I thought we could probably take steps to address that problem if there are steps, and if we don't come up with satisfactory steps, we could eliminate. But I think we ought to look at what's being done or recommended by CDC or whomever, just get some kind of basis. I just think without that, it loses some of its pizzazz.
I would suggest that if you can find a way to make it feel safe, then you do both. So for folks who are not comfortable getting anything other than food, or that it could be, if you do the photo, we'll have a drawing at the end, whatever, you could sort of mix it up.
That's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea. Then everybody is in, whatever their comfort level is.
Yeah. I'm being super, 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 super cautious because my husband's got an extreme blood clotting disorder. So if he gets this, I'm pretty concerned about what would happen. But even I wouldn't feel scared to get an item. If I was getting food anyway, I would just wipe it down. I'd wipe everything down with sanitizing wipes, and and that's how I would deal with that.
It's unfortunate we don't have branded RHDC hand sanitizer.
I know. Oh, could we get some? How much would it cost to order 100 RHDC hand sanitizers? Because that would be cool. I think people would really like that.
Tanya, you're muted. You're the one to weigh in on that.
Yeah, last year I would have said not much. This year, I'm guessing hand sanitizers at a premium.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, that would be cool. Do we have a budget at all right now? Yeah.
Yep. We've got money for swag.
Maybe we should consider it. I kind of agree with the hand sanitizer thing. That's something anybody would feel comfortable getting because it's hand sanitizer. So you literally.
If somebody can, look it up, we don't have a preferred vendor. In fact, the last one we used, I would not use again.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just,
I
find it, do some, do some research, send it to staff, and we can get it ordered.
Okay. Is there anybody who would like to do that?
I would if I
It's
had.
not a. Go ahead, Travis.
Said I would if I had the time. That just sounds like a barrel of work right now.
Hold a baby card for as long as you can.
But for reference, I just pulled up Oriental Trading, which is one of the possible, a 10-piece, 1 ounce hand sanitizer is $12.58.
What?
What?
No, not. Whew, that's ridiculous. I guess that makes sense.
Was that true, Colleen? Aaron?
That was Oriental Trading.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to make more work for myself, but this is just an idea given the price that costs. Are there any breweries in historic landmarks in the Raleigh area or operating out of a historic building, even in a historic overlay?
Sure. I mean, Cloud Brewing was. I don't know if that even still exists. That's where Natty Green was.
That's right. If you
and
I can try and reach out to them and see if any of those are producing hand sanitizer. I know a number of them are. And we might be able to get it, I would hope, significantly cheaper than $12 for a nickel-sized bottle of it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of. That's the only ones I can think of that are either landmarks or overlays.
Yeah, because I know Raleigh Brewing is close to the Royal Bread Factory building, but I don't think it's in it.
I mean, Trophy has a restaurant, but not their brewery.
That closed down.
Oh, that closed? Okay. I'm not on top of things.
Well, I mean, hand sanitizer would be amazing, but I mean, if we can't, we can't. What about masks? Could we get RHDC masks? No, people aren't gonna want that though. Could we just buy like little Purells and then just put RHDC stickers on them? I mean, would that?
Yeah.
If we could find them, absolutely. It's honestly, I'm kind of with Heather on if we're going to give away something, I wouldn't hesitate too much about COVID with it being on the item. Like for a lot of these takeout places, for example, you're already getting a plastic bag, a styrofoam, or a paper cardboard box that your food's in, and the food's being prepared by someone other than yourself. And this, whatever we give them, we could just say, hey, could you drop this in the bag to let people know you're operating out of a historic building and we're RHDC and we're the ones who help preserve these buildings in our city. And then we promote the business online.
You guys have convinced me.
I like that.
Finding the restaurants that are happy to partner in that way.
Yeah.
I like the idea of just throwing it in every bag.
Yeah, I like that too. That's a great idea.
That's really good idea. I mean, that just
that's easy peasy.
Far larger spread.
Yep, I like that.
And then we could still do the, Instagram photo drawing thing.
And do we have pens? I know we did at one point.
What do we?
We have levels with a tape measure.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
little Post-its.
Blue with the mini Post-its.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Because I'm
Probably
just
have.
trying to think about that transaction. One of the things that I know that a lot of businesses are kind of irked about is they're using pens once. So like if you're having your food delivered and you got to sign the receipt, if we had an RHDC pen, they could use for that transaction, then they get to keep the pen. Along with like a piece of paper drop in that goes in the bag that explains who we are. I don't know. I'm just throwing, I want to create as little work as possible.
I agree.
And be effective.
Pens should be pretty cheap to get.
And the pen, that's a really good idea because you're right. They get tired of buying all these pens just to throw them away. So
What?
it's a win.
Why don't we do that? I like that. And I don't think pens, you're right. I don't think pens would be nearly as much to just make some pens. And we can use them for anything anyways. Like those are just helpful to have. So what if we order some pens and we find the businesses that want to be on board, and then they basically, I like the idea, they give one to every customer with just a little, we could print out like a little educational card for each business, like just a little like, this is Lucky Tree, it's in this historic building, it's this, and then they just hand them out, and it's good branding for them, it's good branding for us, it lets people know that we exist, it gets people aware of local history, and plus we get each of these companies to be sharing us on their social media, and then we could have like a prize at the end. Maybe each company that works with us gives us a $20 gift card, and at the end, we're going to pick 5 winners, and each one of them will get a $20 gift card to a local business, and the winners' social media.
My only suggestion is that you go ahead and start contacting, that you don't wait till we order the pens.
Yeah.
Go ahead, make assignments. Feel free to reach out and grab other commissioners, because there's, 3 of you and Carolyn, to get people on board, and that'll also help determine how many pens we want to order. Because I think getting an idea of like what their volume is will help determine how many pens we want to order, and also what time frame we want to do it over. Because if we order, say, 500 pens and they're going to be gone in 3 days, then we don't want to say it's a 5-day event.
Right. Okay.
Have we gone through the hand sanitizer? We're not going to do that. We're going to pens.
Too expensive, unfortunately.
Say again.
It's too expensive, unfortunately.
Well, I'm looking at Amazon. It's not. I mean, I saw what someone else saw initially, but they have things like they have little travel size things, the 2-ounce jars, and it's like a 24 pack for $29.95, and they have 100 single use. They're in a Crayola wrapper for children. They're like the Crayola emblem.
Is that branded?
Well, I mean, it's got Crayola all over it, but if you're looking for something to dump in the bag.
Well, I think we want to dump something in the bag that has the RHDC logo and or website on it.
All of them seem to be branded. That probably is going to. Well, hold on. Never mind. I'd have to look further for ones that aren't branded already.
Okay, Gaston just volunteered to research.
Sure. I'll see if we can.
Sanitizer.
Now,
10 more minutes.
If they're branded, do we have the ability to slap a label on them anyway, on the back or front?
You could. Do y'all want to take the time to slap a label on hundreds of sanitizer bottles?
I hear your naysaying here. I don't think putting a logo on hand sanitizers in time or in budget.
I will say this. I love the idea of hand sanitizer, and therefore I wouldn't mind helping slap logos on. My concern is, even if you can get like 30 for $30, if we're going to have to order hundreds of these to give out, that's going to get really expensive really quickly. Whereas I would think pins hopefully would be less.
Cheap.
Yeah.
The other thing about pens is that you're not going to use it up so fast. You might just hang on to your pen, so you're going to be reminded of it multiple times. Whereas even a single-use hand sanitizer, that's one thing, or a small bottle. But the pen, I think, might have more life to it.
Yeah.
And restaurants and all could keep giving them out beyond this, so the publicity can go beyond the event.
Yeah, I love hand sanitizer. I wish we could do it. I personally think it's going to be hard to find one that's just affordable enough to make it worth what we're doing.
So when you contact the restaurants, you should also ask, you know, if they'd be comfortable with throwing a pin with our logo on it in there. That would be part of the ask.
Yes, and honestly, I probably wouldn't just do a pin. In my mind, we would pick like 5 places, and each place would have a pin, and then I'd print out like little cards for each place, like about the history of that place. And so that part of the ask is they hand those out, but part of the benefit is they're letting people know like how connected to the community they are, how historic their building is. So they're benefiting by getting, you know, that kind of like publicity of how historic they are. Plus, they're going to get a lot of promotion from us promoting this event and promoting each place that's involved in the event. So we have the ask of them giving that stuff out. And I think one of the asks should be if they would be willing to donate a $20 gift card for the end of the scavenger hunt. That way at the end we have some prizes. And then that would be it. And it would get us a lot of promotion for our name, and it would help us promote local businesses during a time when they need that. And we probably could, you know, I feel like we could probably get some media coverage for doing that. It's kind of a cool idea, especially during COVID. So yeah. Of our list, I'm comfortable asking Royal Baking Company, the coffee shop Lucky Tree. I don't mind asking them about it because I know them. Is Nova the Pig in a historic building? I had picked it just because it's it was in the Piggly Wiggly.
It's not designated historic, but it is. I mean, it's old. None of the National Register districts actually encompass 5 Points, the commercial piece, but if you can't get 5 out of the landmarks, I don't think it's a bad idea to include them.
Yeah, I know they have a restaurant and they have like a little shop, so like they'd probably be, excited for people to come in. What about Mecca? Does anybody want to contact Mecca? Do you know somebody there? I mean, you don't have to know somebody, but I'm just checking if anybody has some of these that you know somebody, and this would be an easy win for you.
I'm on Mecca.
Okay.
I got that covered. I'm 99% sure they'll be signing up.
Perfect.
I don't have a confirmation, but I'm in touch with them.
All right. What about, I know that is the Mecca, is that owned by
Empire Eats.
Empire. So we also were looking at the Dodd Hinsdale House is also Second Empire.
I think it's a different company.
Empire Eats is gravy.
Raleigh,
the pig place and
or they own
Mecca.
So I guess, Gaston, what I'm asking is, when you talk to them about Mecca, could you also get like gravy?
Yeah, I can get the whole chain. I mean, I don't know what historic is. I don't know what I'm drawing a blank. What's the pork place in the old
The Pit?
The Pit. That's probably a historic building. It's not new.
I mean, I think it's a contributing resource to the National Register district. It's not in an overlay district, though.
When I talked
I'm out of the loop. When did Empire Eats take over Mecca?
I bought it last year, early.
Okay. I think I've lost them.
I'll just talk to him and Samantha or whoever he gives me to be a contact person about all of them.
That would be great. That would probably set us up, honestly. If you did that and I got Royal Baking Company, we'd have 5.
And I can take on Nofo because it's in my neighborhood, and they're open for eat in and take out, and they put in outdoor dining with heaters and all kinds of stuff. And I'm sure Ann, what's her name, would love to participate.
So I would start, before contacting them, I would contact Cafe Luna in the Montague building
I agree with you.
First,
because it's a landmark, and if we can not have this be, one business and then all Empire Eats, I think
I think-
that's also a good idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Well, do you want to go for Cafe Luna? Would you like me to, or does anybody else want to grab one?
I'll step in and point fingers at Kellen or Travis. Would either one of you be, if we're going for 5 and we've got 4 committee members here?
I'll be
I'll be
glad.
glad to do one if somebody will equip me. I haven't spoken for the group before, so I just want to be sure that I don't screw up. So if I could have a
I
session.
could do that one too. I'll do that one instead of NoFo.
I don't know any of these owners,
I
so
know Parker and I eat there a lot. Used to eat there a whole lot. I can get in touch with Parker Kennedy.
I would say ahead of asking, Heather, since you're kind of the brain of this operation, I would put together a list of talking points.
She's got her.
Everyone is speaking from the same script.
Yeah, if you haven't seen her afternoon email, it's excellent. It's halfway to a talking point memo. Have you all had a chance to look at it yet? It came in at 11:09 this morning, actually.
I saw that, and I'll be glad to help out. If you know the people, Gaston, and can make that connection more easily, that's fine. And then if there's something else I can do to help you at any point, let me know.
I think we just want to do that and just clarify some of the tweaks that were made at this meeting.
Yes.
And that way, if it turns out you want to rope in somebody else from one of the other, from the rest of the commission.
Do you have time? Do you have time, Heather, to freshen up your email from this morning? Because it's a perfect list.
Yeah, I will. It'll basically be what we're asking of them and what they get from it and what we're gonna do. And I'll just freshen it up and put it in one simple elevator pitch, basically.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. I see that.
That's just from my notes on this meeting right now, just the question. There's more than this, we need to tell them, explain to them what we're thinking and what we hope to achieve, but the specific questions to ask, that's what I noted.
Yes.
Feel free to amend that.
Yes, I like that. Gaston, at the risk of, I of course want everyone to feel included, but I feel like people who know the owners, it just makes it easier. So I'm happy to do Royal Baking Company. I'm even happy to do NoFo because I've worked with them myself. If you want to have that taken off, because I know you're doing a lot of these. And then if you want to do Second Empire.
I'll do Greg Hayden and Empire Properties and all their and Parker Kennedy at Cafe Luna.
Okay.
And I think and I don't think anybody's contacting NoFo unless we don't get, unless we
Gotcha.
have tried all the landmark restaurants and need to try again.
And yeah, exactly. So we'll do that. What do we think about the Raleigh Wine Shop? If they're open, they're in the Raleigh Electric Company powerhouse, I think.
one I can contact. I don't know the owner, but I've been a member of their Sir Walter Wine Club thing for a year or two.
I think they might be a good one to ask because they're a little bit different. People go in there to get wine. It's more of a go inside kind of thing. And people I know are wanting a lot of wine during the pandemic. So I feel like that could be a good one to add. Something with variety instead of just like direct food restaurants, but like a place where you kind of go inside.
Yeah, just verify their location.
Yeah, we'll verify. From the map, it looked to me like they were in the Electric Company powerhouse. But I wasn't. Again, I'm using a map, so I wasn't 100% sure if that was accurate or not. But we'll try that. I think that's a good one too, Travis, if you want to grab that one. Okay, I think that's good. My goal, and tell me if this is realistic, I would like for us to launch this maybe the last week of February. I don't think we should try to overshadow Valentine's Day. That's going to just kill it. So I think if we were to do the last week of February, and we could be promoting it all the way leading up to that, and ordering the pins. So first 2 to 3 weeks of January, we need to talk to the companies, find out who's on board, and like, let's give a date. I would say, I don't have a calendar on me right now. I'd like to give a drop deadline date by when we people on. Let me see. Okay, so let's say by January 24th.
20 what? I can't dropped.
We should have everybody who's going to be on board. So we have until January 24th, and hopefully before then. But that's the final deadline for getting these people signed up. So within, I would say in the next week or two, start contacting them, let us know what they say. Because I want to have time to promote this. And January 24th, we then have like 3 to 4 weeks of promotion leading up to the event. And if we do less than that, it's just almost not going to be worth doing it. So we're going to, let's say by January 24th, we need to know it finalized, which means honestly, I would say by January 18th, we really should have, like, 24th is like finalized. 18th is like, we're we've got everyone kind of penciled in, right? And then the 24th is like, that's our final people, they're involved. So I would say by January 18th, you should have contacted them and kind of figured out if they want to be part of it or not. And by the 24th, we need the finalized list. So whoever and I'll send out an email on, who's agreed to talk to who, as well as the talking points. And then by the 18th, we need your penciled in people. And by the 24th, a finalized list. And then we will order the pins. We'll need to look into how long it's going to take for the pins to arrive, but I'd rather do that like really early rather than late. So probably order pins within the next 2 weeks, really, rather than later. Tanya, do you order the pins ultimately? We just tell you how much we want?
Yes.
So I'll tell Tanya.
Yeah. Send me the name, website, quantity, and I order, and well, actually, I get the information together, and then one of the admins orders, and then I'll get the logo and whatnot on it.
That's going to be the thing.
So Heather, I was just checking while we were chatting to make sure, at least on Google, the Raleigh Wine Shop address is 126 Glenwood. So I plugged that in, and it doesn't look like it's a designated building. But I also
That building is Tobacco Road.
What's that?
Tobacco Road is in the landmark building that you were talking about.
Well, that is a restaurant that is not an Empire restaurant. I was also trying to count up the number of restaurants we're contacting. And while I don't, group Mecca in my head with Empire Eats, that's new enough. It doesn't look like that we have 5 without multiple Empire properties.
Yeah, I think we're going to get multiple Empire. It's going to be probably like the Pit, Gravy, Raleigh Times maybe, and then...
So I would say the Pit is not a landmark and not in a local district. So no, so I would do, it would be Raleigh Times, Morning Times, Gravy, Dizzy. Those are the ones that are in the Moore Square HOD. Okay. And then Mecca is both that and an individual landmark.
Okay, is City also owned by Hayden? Okay.
And the other thing to look, I don't know if this matters or not, he owns a lot more properties than he's got restaurants in. So even some of the businesses we're talking about that aren't owned by Empire Eats could be in one of Empire Properties buildings.
Oh.
I don't think they are, but it's worth double checking.
Well, we'll start with these, and like I said, we'll get responses back, and then based on how many we get, that's when we go ahead and start contacting the others, so we have that buffer. But this is looking good. I think we'll start with this, and again, I would say don't wait. Let's start contacting them this week. That way we know what we're working with moving forward, and just keep us updated. I had listed on about the 60th anniversary, but it's after. So, hold.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all now? Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Okay. I had listed the RHDC 60th anniversary to be discussed, but it's after 5. So just hold it in your head, something that we can talk about next time. Hopefully as COVID gets better, maybe something even in person to do for that, maybe.
Yeah, the good news is that officially the anniversary isn't until December. So
Nice. And then Preservation Month. But again, we can talk about that next time. Just have it in your heads to be thinking about things we could do.
I forgot. One quick note. I know we're out of time. Empire Eats also owns the Raleigh Times, which was the newspaper office.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I forgot about that part of it.
Yep. And Morning Times, the coffee shop. Coffee is essential.
Raleigh Times.
Yes, please reach out to them. Yeah, I mean, get them involved if we can. Those are good ones.
And I had one thing. I'm not really good with this platform. So, Gaston, in answer to your question, yes, I will be glad to help. I don't know how to do the chats in this, so I apologize. But I'm happy to help. So just get in touch with me, Gaston.
We need to put some smiley faces with masks on and make appearances. You and I'll go as a tag team. How about that?
Okay, I love it. I love it.
We will need people to deliver the items. So that will be something maybe, you might want to help with, or people might want to think helping us deliver the items to the stores. So we can talk about that next month, though. All right.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Motion to adjourn, I guess.
Second, moved.
Okay. All right.
Thank you all for your time as always.
Travis, it could just be that you're on mute, but he seems very well behaved this afternoon.
He's been on mute.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.